It's April the 11th, 2023, and you know why you're here, so let's kick this off right and introduce the players. Hey, I'm Jarisar, a WoW esports aficionado.
Hey guys, I'm Big Moran, a former PvP Padawan.
Hey, I'm Trisab Jake, and I'm a Demonology enthusiast.
Oh my god.
We swapped things up today. Anyway, today we're joined by Leeka, who is another Demo Warlock aficionado. And I guess Leeka, why don't you introduce yourself? Maybe talk about who you are and what you do in the community.
Hi, my name's Leeka, Chris. I run Justfar, and I play Demo Warlock. I've been running Justfar, 3 years, 4 years now? And then I've been a Demo main since actually vanilla. I started off as Demo, it was my very first 60. And then I kind of started playing, I played Ret Paladin and Enhancement Shaman for all the way up to like Cataclysm. And then I switched back to Demo in WoD for Metamorphosis. And then I've been kind of stuck with Demo ever since.
You didn't fall over to Demon Hunt when they took away Metamorphosis?
I was pretty sad, but I wasn't PvPing very much back then. Like I was just a battleground Ashran hero. I was pretty casual back from Kata to WoD, and then for some reason I decided to try a little harder BFA out of all expansions. So I actually started, I pushed Glad. I finally got my first Gladiator in Shadowlands Season 2, like everybody else in the game, and then I got Glad the third season. Hopefully Glad this season.
All right. I just heard something really weird in my earphones from
so
Big's microphone. I'm not sure what happened there. I think is
Really?
Yeah, that was.
What was it?
I don't. It sounded like an audio fragment. It was
It's like a theme in the background or something.
Yeah, there's definitely something strange.
I think.
Let me know if it happens again. I'm literally just sitting here like a stone.
Okay. All right. You weren't abducted by aliens, and that wasn't like the teleporter bringing you back or something, because it kind of.
I hope not. Jeez Louise. Okay.
I think it was just Big's microphone reacting to Leeka talking about Shadowlands Season 2 and 3.
I love it. Well, hey, normally I like to ask a few questions, but I know Leeka, Justfar, I have to ask you, what was the impetus? What was the thing that made you decide that you were going to make a website for, basically people have profiles, people to be able to track their history in PvP, as well as all the esports stuff you've been doing on there. Like, what made you want to do that?
So I think it was like WoD. There was a site called worldofwarcrafts.com, and I think that was the main site for looking up stats and stuff like that. And I always thought I could do this better. Like I thought, they didn't expand on it very often. And then the thing that kind of made me actually go forward with it was the actual official leaderboards. They removed the spec filters. You couldn't filter by spec anymore. So like if I wanted to look up Demonology Warlocks, I couldn't. I can only see Warlocks. And that's kind of where I was like, what a silly thing to remove from the leaderboards. That's when I said, that's when I decided to go ahead with it. I'm like, I'm doing this now. And
all right,
from there on, and then everything is kind of like, it was just a basic leaderboard profile set, and I've slowly been adding things on, like the AWC, and like I just recently added the activity page because Zunamate disappeared.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to say thank you.
Well, it's been fun. It's been a good learning experience. Like I'm learning a lot.
I think the activity page is really interesting. I mean, it was quite jarring to see the amount of like Red Paladins in recent weeks. But there's so many like data aggregation websites now, and it's a nice way to kind of view class balance in some weird way. Like just having it's like seeing 5,000 Ret Paladins play in a 24-hour period when most DPS are in the hundreds. I mean that should be pretty indicative, I guess, for the developers that maybe something is needing to be changed. So I think it's really cool having all this data that's publicly available now that wasn't necessarily the case back 10 years ago.
I hope Blizzard had their own internal tools. Like even in Shadowlands, like you look at RPGs, Guardian Druids, because of their legendary, they were like 99% of the tanks in RPGs. And I thought that was a little disappointing for if you played a Brewmaster or something like that. You can't even play RPGs anymore.
Well, that even goes back to before that, when Demon Hunters were the go-to for the tanks during Legion because of their mobility. and they could go places they weren't supposed to. But yeah, well, okay. Before we actually get started, I have to ask the one question. This is the thing that kind of always pops up into my brain whenever I see activity. Does activity really indicate broken, or does it indicate? How do you differentiate whether something's broken or just it's the new flashy thing that people want to go and try? They hear a lot of stuff about, and so people are bored playing their main that they've been playing for weeks and weeks in the season. Something changes mid-season, and they hear that it's pretty cool, and they go over to play it. Is it that, or is it the fact that it's actually broken?
I think Ret's a little bit special here because you can see that there's more Ret Paladins than every other spec combined except like Warlocks and Warriors. If you add every single DPS spec in the game, there's more Ret Paladins than them. So that's when you kind of notice there's something going on here. Maybe if it was for a couple days, it'd be okay. But when you see it go on for a week and you see like 3 Ret Paladins on a 2100 arena team killing everybody, there's something not right.
But that's fine. Right?
Yeah. I think some specs are just inherently a bit more popular than others too. Like I know Warriors, the Warrior class is always overwhelmingly popular just in the game itself. And then like I was surprised this season to see such low representation for Mage. I've talked to other mages about this, and there's kind of this feeling that maybe the spec is a bit out, or maybe the class itself is a bit outdated. But Mage has been very low represented the entire expansion, even despite the fact that like Arcane was really really good at the season at the expansion's launch, and Frost continues to be really good right now. It's just like for some reason people aren't playing the spec as much as they as playing the class rather as much as they were in like Shadowlands, for instance, when mages seem to be everywhere.
I think there's definitely like a lot to say about the difficulty value of certain specs and classes. Like, we've talked about it at length of how everyone hated RMP, but actually RMP is quite difficult to pull off well. Mage in general, I think, has a high skill cap, and that's why it's, despite even when it's really good, I think it is under. There's not as much there's not many people playing it, and I think it's the same stuff like like Ellie Shaman and other specs like that. There's not a lot of people playing it because it is a difficult spec, and I suppose that's also why these certain when something's really strong, you don't see that's kind of sort of underrepresented. It's not, there aren't as many re-rollers as there have been, and I think sadly Ret is one of those classes where at the minute it is very face roll, and it's just easy to re-roll to it, and I think that's just the activity.
Yeah, I think it was like the perfect storm. It's like a relatively easy spec, and it's really strong. So it's like, okay, that's a no-brainer. Might as well play it.
When a class kind of plays itself, it's all right. Well, thinking about playing ourselves, why don't we get into the nitty-gritty pass and see what Jake's going to do to play with us today?
This likely won't be a clean fight, so keep your distance, Harry!
I got to work on my transitions. All right. Need, greed, and pass. Here we go. Did we lose Leeka now? Am I having computer problems?
No. Are we? I was waiting for the buffer to go.
Yeah, it went, and I just lost Leeka's camera, and I don't see him talking.
Maybe
still here.
Yeah. Hey there. Oh, I just don't. Okay. Weird. I lost your camera share.
Oh, let me I reloaded the page and it's not even there anymore. Waiting for camera.
Ooh, okay. That's not good. Well, while we figure that out, there you go. It should be back now. Why don't we get into this segment? So, need, greed, and pass. Jake's going to present a scenario with 3 choices. We all get to take our chances through it, which one we'll need, which one we'll greed, and which one we'll pass. So, I'm going to hand it over to Jake while I fix the OBS scene. Go for it, buddy.
So this episode's need, greed, and pass, I thought, seeing as we've had quite the explosive 10.0.7, I was just, there's been a lot of chatter, a lot of communication, a lot of comparisons on Twitter and the forums and everything. And I thought, why don't we put together kind of, at least from my recollection and memory, the 3 sort of big, almost unbelievably OP specs that there have ever been, pre-nerfs, and decide which one we'd rather fight in comparison to one another, or rather, I suppose, which one. I don't know. It depends on how we want to do this, but I feel like we need the one that we'd rather not fight, and then Greed, the kind of one that would sort of want to fight, and Pass, the one we definitely don't want to fight. So I thought I'd throw this in, and we're going to be the three choices are Dragonflight Ret Paladin, obviously 10.0.7, Season 5 Wrath of the Lich King DK, and Warlords of Draenor Enhance. I can't remember when they were totally busted. I think it might have been Season 3 or 2. I can't remember which one. But yeah, those are the ones for me that I remember. They're all melee as well, because I know a lot of us are either healers or casters as well, so make it a bit easier. Kind of really bring to light that hatred. But yeah, those are those three options. So I don't know. I feel like Leeka should probably go first as our guest of honor.
I would need the WAD enhancement just because I love enhance, and it's been a while since they've been good, like A tier.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't know about the other two. I didn't really play much in Wrath during that DK season, so I'd probably Greed the Death Knight just because I don't really remember much about it. I remember they've been being really stupid, and then just the season 5 this Paladin pass right now. I just get rid of them, delete them. It ruined it completely different. Like I can accept that the DKs are broken. The first hero class they've ever added. It's a brand new expansion. All that I can accept that a little bit more. But we're midway through an awesome season, and here's here we're just gonna break this entire class and the entire leaderboards.
All right, I like it. Yeah,
I vibe that.
I'm wondering what Big's take is on this.
I think it's exactly the same actually. I would rather fight the WAD enhance every day. In fact, that's what I used to. I mean, in WAD, that's pretty much all half the teams. There's like 4 comps at the end of WAD. There was RMD, there was Turbo Cleave, there was God Comp, and then there was Walking Dead. Those are the 4 big ones. And I played RMD because I was a druid and I didn't like playing Turbo, and I loved playing against Turbo Cleave. It was like so fun because they were like really annoying defensively, and then like the RMD was like really good offensively, and so it was a nice little battle. And then I'm gonna Greed on the DK because I don't remember too much, and I think I know they're really good for sure. And then I'm going to, I guess, pass on the Dragonflight Ret Paladin just because I decided to start playing Mage in 10.07, and that's when everyone started playing Paladin with the Judgment of the Pure, and I was just having a miserable time landing polymorphs. And I just polymorph a healer, just get dispelled instantly, and I was really sad. So that's what I would pick.
All right. Huh. See,
I feel like I'm failing. I feel like I made it too easy.
I'm gonna need on DK, season 5 DK. They're pretty broken, but I still feel like you're able to combat them a little bit. I'm at a toss up between Enhance and Ret Pally though. Like I get the whole. I feel like the Dragon Ret Pally really disruptive. The mass dispel, Judgment mass dispel was a bit much. I think with the iteration right now with the single dispel or the paladin only, the self dispel is better. So I'm gonna I'm gonna Greed on that, and then I'm gonna pass on the WAD enhance, just because I remember WAD enhance as a warlock, and just having this thing like stand on top of me and is just like whirling wind maces in the face and dead in no, I have PTSD from that. So I'd rather face a Ret Pally and a DK than face a WAD enhance.
I was hoping for someone to have a bit of trauma. I was hoping because
do you have trauma? Do you have trauma?
No, because I played it. that was me in Warlords of Draenor. Not playing threes, admittedly. I played RPGs, so It's the first time playing any high rating. In fact, actually, I missed out on Hero of the Alliance by, I think, 10 rating.
That's okay. You can just get it every other season after that.
Yes, if I could do that. Yeah, I think all my friends stopped playing off that. But anyway, I guess it's my turn.
It is.
So I think I'm going to need the WOD enhance, only because that's what I played. I played that in WOD. So for me, it makes sense. I want to keep that around. I'd rather fight that because actually, you know what? That was the last time I thought enhance was really fun. So it hasn't been the same since, and I really enjoyed WOD enhance. And I think every other iteration of it has been poo-poo. I'm then going to. I think I'm going to greed, and this is a hard one because I know that DKs in season 5, and that was grim, and it was the freest gladiator I think ever. Whether or not it's the same as Dragonflight, I mean, it's hard to say. I feel like personally, if we had season 5 DKs, everyone would have quit, genuinely quit the game. So I think I'm gonna greed the Ret Paladin because I'd hope that they'd eventually get nerfed, which they have been. And because it's Dragonflight, the nerfs come quickly, and it's not like you're not waiting for ages. There is still some sort of sense of urgency on the balancing. Whereas I'm fairly sure season 5 DKs just remained incredibly busted for most of that season. So I'm gonna pass on the season 5 DK.
All right.
Then we got a mixed bag there.
Yeah. Okay. I was kind of worried there with you. Like it sounded like we're all gonna sound like everybody's doing the same thing, but then we turned around there. But
sometimes it is. Sometimes it does work that way. Sometimes it's very obvious, and I have had those. I think I've done some of the knee green passes where it has been a bit too obvious, and I've sort of you kind of almost I kind of want everyone to be agreeing so that it feels like all the PvPers. I know obviously all three of us are not all the PvPers, but it's nice to feel like we are all together. But then sometimes it's nice to hear different opinions.
Indeed. Which I think also kind of is the community, right? Not everybody agrees on the same thing all the time.
Exactly.
Speaking of not agreeing, if you agree or don't agree, don't forget to head on over to our Discord. We'll have a thread there for the Neat Greed and Pass, so you can tell us what your Neat Greed and Pass is. Or if you're listening live, make sure you say it in the chat right now. In the meantime, we're going to jump into the WoW PvP events and talk about what's happening in the next few weeks.
Get in there and fight! Stop hiding!
Indeed. So, upcoming WoW PvP events, few of them. I think we talked briefly about the Raider.io Pro-Am Mythic Plus tournament, the professional amateur tournament. I haven't really talked about it for the last couple episodes, I think, but that's happening this weekend on the 15th. So if you want watch that over on Raider.io. There's a tweet link. I'm not sure where they're streaming it. I'm not sure. Anyway, there's also a hardcore. This is in Wrath Classic. Hardcore dungeon speedrunning also happening this weekend with a $5,000 prize pool for that. Apparently, this is a regular thing that I wasn't aware of. So I want to nod over to the WoW Esports Twitter because they retweeted it. So that was cool. Liquid Guild is doing an Eve Ascension Mythic Plus Great Push tournament on the 22nd of April. So those actually just closed. And this one is going to be interesting because it was very selective in who was actually going to be participating in it. But it was kind of cool. It was more for how is it? It was more for people that were the women or gender minorities and that kind of thing. So it is a bit more selective in who's playing and who's running the background. But at the same time, I think it's pretty cool. It's going to highlight some of those players that we probably wouldn't normally see on competition or broadcast. The Radar Oasis Myth Plus Keystone Builders is on the 20th to the 30th of April. Radar.io just announced today their Break the Meta, which is a Mythic Plus tournament, but using classes you wouldn't normally see. That's going to be starting on the 18th of April. And I I don't think that's being streamed. I think that's more of just a watching the ladders. But that's going to be happening. I want to say might be happening on the tournament realm because they're also broadcasting that they're giving away the banner, the same one you could get through the Blizzard esports stuff, which is pretty cool. And then into May, we have the DXB Wrath of the Lich King Arena Tournament. This is EU only, the 12th and the 13th of May. And beyond that, into the summer, Blizzard already announced that they're going to have a second season of AWC this year, starting in June. So we'll keep our ears and eyes peeled for that. In fact, actually, just got confirmation today, we're going to have Adrian, otherwise known as Healing Stat, from the WoW Esports group. He's going to be joining us next podcast to talk about what's happened and what's happening next. And that's about it. I don't know. I think out of all that, what are you guys excited about out of all these esports stuff that's coming? I mean, this is a lot of stuff happening in the next month. I think this is probably the most that we've had on the list that wasn't just a Blizzard esports. I don't know. Leeka, I know you like to follow esports. What's something that you're most interested in?
AWC season 2. The next PvP season should be pretty interesting. We got the crit multiplier changing. There's a whole slew of new PvP talents. It should be, that should shake up the meta quite a bit. I'm really excited to see what happens there.
Mm-hmm. You aren't wrong. It'll be neat to see what 10.1 and beyond does for the meta. How about
a little bit worried, but I'm also hopeful.
Yeah, true. Let's see if we see more reps.
No.
Jake or Big, is there any esports there or anything you're excited about?
Oof. Just trying to think myself. I think obviously goes without saying the AWC is probably the thing I'm the most excited about. I mean, that's always going to be the case. Obviously excited to see Wrath of the Lich King Arena Tournament, but again, I think the problem with PvP in Classic is just the simple fact that everyone knows the meta. I'm really excited. Obviously, I love PvP, so that's another thing. But I'm more excited about the AWC because, as Leeka just said it, who knows what the meta is going to be like with all these changes, whether people are going to come up with something really cool, whether we're going to see something different, and that gets me more excited than anything. So I think those are the two that I'm probably excited about. I'm not massively into the M+, so I wouldn't be too excited about that, really.
Okay.
That's really it.
Fair. How about you, Big?
Yeah, I think I'm more interested in the PvP type stuff. And is the hardcore dungeon speedrun is that I kind of maybe misunderstood. Is that like kind of doing the same thing as the hardcore runs that people do in Classic where you can't die and you have to speedrun a dungeon? Is that how that works?
I think so.
I mean, because that's interesting. I think this hardcore thing that people are doing on Twitch it's goofy. I mean, I heard someone compare it to like the ultimate arena game. Like in arena you can't die, right? Or else you lose. And it's like, well, if you level to 60, it's like a very, very long arena game, like without dying. And so that could be interesting. Well, I know got to be some Twitch clips coming out of that one.
Oh yeah, the hardcore community has existed for quite some time. So yeah, this is just another iteration to it. But yeah, I'm assuming that's what it means. That's exactly what it is. This is the hardcore. So if you're in the tournament and you die anywhere throughout these, and you're trying to run as fast as you can, like then you're out. That's it. Like,
that's pretty cool. I like that. I would watch that. And then AWC season 2 sounds fun.
Sounds like my worst nightmare, that hardcore one. Oh my god. Just you doing all that leveling and having to delete your character.
Oh. I like the tweet, by the way, that they sent out to promote it. It says, check out the trailer made by Farts Gaming YouTube. Like it's just this epic trailer made by Farts Gaming, and it's like really well produced.
I can't believe you'd knock Farts Gaming live.
I can't believe I do. He plays a Ret Paladin, evidently.
Disgusting. I rescind my comment.
Are you guys seriously pooping on farts?
Yeah. Oh no.
Oh, I can't believe you did that. All right. And just as bad as that joke was, this transition is going to be even worse as we get into the subject of analysis.
I'm going to light you up, sweet cheeks.
All right. There we go. Let's get into this. Let's talk about Demo Warlocks, the reason why we're here, the reason why we brought Leeka here. Not just for the bad dad jokes, and not just talk about his website, as awesome as it is, but we're here to pick his brain about Demonology Warlocks, 10.0.7, and 10.1 just around the corner. I mean, let's be honest, this is going to change up a little bit anyways. But first and foremost, let's see here. Last time we talked about Demonology Warlocks, it was with Menemies back in 9.2. So it's been well over a year since we even covered this spec. I have to ask, Leeka, first and foremost, what has changed with Demonology from, now that we're in Dragonflight compared to Shadowlands?
I don't feel like a lot has changed, actually. Like your pet is a lot more durable than it was in Shadowlands. It's a lot easier to keep it alive with a few new talents, but a lot of it's still very similar. Like, it still plays the same. You're still trying to set up your big tyrant. People still kill your tyrant. It still bugs out a lot. But that's basically, like, you lost your covenant. We didn't get any covenant abilities that carried over. Like, I think every other spec in the game has something that carried over from Shadowlands, where we lost everything, like Soul Rod or Decimating Bolt. We didn't get any of that kind of stuff, which was a little disappointing. Decimating Bolt was a lot of fun back in Shadowlands.
Yeah.
We did get a couple of new talents. Some classes got like their PvP talents moved into their tree. Like, I know Shaman's got like Lasso, and that was the Thunderstorm one that knocks everybody back. Like, those would be really cool. Actually using your PvE tree, where the only thing I think Warlocks got was Amplify Curse, which is kind of boring.
Yeah.
Useful. Like, I think it's a little overpowered. Amplify Curse, like, you can disable somebody's ability to crit, which is massive for like Ret Paladins or Warriors.
Well, so I guess just talking about meta quickly, I know we saw Demonology fit really well in with the Ret Paladin meta that we're in right now. It seemed kind of like, are they like a bit of a hard counter for Rets, or would you say, like, are they the paper to the rock, if you will?
Before the Ret changes, I loved fighting Rets. They were one of the easier classes for a Ret or for a Warlock to kill, just because they're ranged and you could kite them easy. Like, they were just the wheelchair class, right? So they're a lot easier to kill than they are now. They get so much like self-healing now and shields that they're a lot harder to kill. They just pair so well with Reds. Like, same with Warriors and BM Hunters. You get that, you bring that Mortal Strike and that little bit extra CC, and you're harder to kill. That's why you see those three classes always pairing really well with the new Rets.
Makes sense then. Okay. So, play wise, then, just to recap, it's what, summon as many imps as you can, then launch a tyrant, big buffed up tyrant, and send that tyrant off to hopefully smack somebody really hard.
Basically, yeah. So they kind of changed it. How before it used to be your demon's health would contribute to how big your tyrant was. Well, they changed that because of PvE. You'd get you'd play Battle Master and Rallying Cry, try to buff all your demons to get that big tyrant. Well, they changed that now to where your imps are worth 1 stack, and then your Vile Fiend, your Felguards are worth 3 stacks each. So you want to have like your bigger demons out more than your imps, because like your Vile Fiend is worth 3, your Grim Felguard's worth 3, where each imp is worth 1 point. You're not really too worried about your imps. If you usually you just do your Dreadstalkers and your Vile Fiend and your Felguard, and then you tyrant. You get like a 22 stack tyrant. But now everybody, because there's so many Demo Warlocks now, everybody knows how to stop the tyrant, and you got Ret Paladins that can blind it, they can stun it with Wake of Ashes, or they just kill it. It dies in like 3 globals now.
That's sad.
Yeah, I was gonna ask, because tyrant is a very interesting burst cooldown, and I can only imagine it's kind of frustrating sometimes to play with, because on one end you have this like very limited window to actually use your tyrant, right? Like, or to have like a very effective tyrant. You basically need to have not necessarily the stars aligned, but you have to be playing around your Called Dreadstalker's cooldown, a Vile Fiend, and then obviously have a lot of imps, things like that. And like, you're kind of on a timer, right, to use your tyrant. It's not like Wings, for instance, where you just can press at any time. You kind of have to really set it up Is that right?
Yeah, and like say you do your 2 minute cooldown Felguard, and then you do your Vile Fame, which is 45-second cooldown. If you get kicked on your Tyrant, and then they just CC you long enough for those to expire, but you've just lost that big Tyrant window because they also extend. The Tyrant also extends those pets for another 15 seconds. So having that second Felguard out for 15 seconds is massive. So if you get CC'd in long enough when you do your go, that whole window is pretty much wasted.
It's I also think the mobility creep means that when you're like queuing into Ret Warrior, they're on your mage, and you start getting it out. You get your Tyrant out. Your Tyrant comes out. By the time it's even casted its first sort of um, bolt, Tyrant bolt, whatever it is,
Demon Fire.
yeah, Demon Fire. That's it. The Ret Paladin or the Warrior has leaped halfway across the map to you, feared it, or the Paladin has ran towards you with Freedom up, blinded it, and then is already in like a second later reconnected with your mage. Like it's incredibly easy for them just to throw their CC out because they got absolutely butt tons of it. And their sort of mobility into stopping you, and then that's that for however long it is, a minute and a half, 2 minutes, whatever. It's insane. I think when you get it right, it pumps and it's really awesome and it's lots of fun. But I think for the most part, because of how melee are, it's just I think it's a little bit ridiculous. And as you say, like in comparison to wings, which you just press and it's up for however long every minute now, it's a bit nuts.
The funny thing about Wings, it's off the global cooldown, and they just macroed into, was it Divine Toll or that other one, the Final Reckoning? Like they just macroed into another ability where Tyrant is actually a cast time ability.
Yeah,
I wish I could macro it into like one of my abilities.
I know,
Use the
right?
cast Tyrant.
It's the issue I have with hunters sometimes as well, and they annoy me because it's kind of like these classes that have baked so much damage into abilities you just cannot kick, you can't stop. Like there's like before they nerfed Fatal Mark as well on Warriors, it's like I can't stop that ability other than my healer sort of like topping me randomly. But I've seen Warriors just like sort of one shot people from 50% health where it just like randomly procs, and it was just insane. It's just some of the things that they baked into their toolkit. They haven't even pressed that. That's just like a random chance. Is absolutely bonkers. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And then obviously you've got to cast this massive. In fact, actually, you're not just that. You have to cast like Vile Fiend, and then you've got to get the two other globals to get uh, the Fellstalkers and the instant extra Felguard. You got to get all of that out and then cast your Tyrant. It's mental. It's insane amount of globals in comparison
Yeah.
to very little effort from the others.
Yeah, and I know even like for assassination rogues, they can play with Exandrinate, which is a really good cooldown, but a lot of rogues weren't playing it at the beginning of the season just because it felt awkward to press. It's like it's another thing that's on global, you need to press it. And then yeah, compare that to like some of these other specs where they just like press their one bang ability and then they just have so much front loaded damage that yeah, it's kind of like a lot of the specs right now are like fairly GCD capped in Arena, and I think
Yeah.
Demo Warlock has definitely been one of the most GCD capped classes there is. And I know Shaman, like Jake, I know you play Shaman as a main. Like that's another spec where it's like it feels like you can press something every GCD. So like having more stuff to press, it's not necessarily a good feeling, right? It's
No.
kind of like oh damn,
No.
more stuff.
I used to enjoy the Tyrant setup because it was like the better you did your setup and fake people, it was more rewarding. But now it's so easy to shut down or kill that it's like I kind of over it now.
Well, you could do that still with precognition, but even if you do that, they just blind it and then
Yeah,
fear it.
it's so easy to stop the Tyrant. And then one of the last hotfixes, they buffed the health of the Dark Lair, the Affliction Warlock pet, but they ignored Tyrant, which
Yeah.
I was so confused about.
Yeah,
I was kind of happy.
as an affliction wall. I mean, it's I don't know. I think the real point about it is that I think personally they've spent a lot of time making melee have a lot of mobility and a lot of utility. and they've sort of just ignored the casters, because a lot of the thing about being a caster was that, yeah, you've got a lot of utility, like, spammable CC, but you have to cast for it, and there is the risk of being interrupted. Now, I wouldn't mind if they gave, if warriors, for example, kept Stormbolt and interrupt and stuff like that, but the fact that they can get back to you so quickly despite you like kiting them absolutely ridiculously, or even paladins at the minute, it's just unbelievable. It shouldn't be like that, and they can front load all that damage into you, whilst you're trying to even get a cast off because of spell pushback and whatever. It's just a bit nutty, really, in my opinion.
So I just feel like I can't, like, a warrior gets on you, you can't punish them enough to make them retreat now too. Like, especially with the red paladin change, they just have so much defensive that you could pop all your stuff and it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You could do that as Ellie as well, though. That was one of the best things about playing Ellie for so long, was that just like with the way that the Ascendance proc worked, it's just you would like the warriors on top of you, and I'm kind of like free casting because I'm getting procs, but then suddenly you just explode with damage, and they're suddenly like, "Whoa, what's happening there? I have to retreat." And that was the only time I ever saw like warriors suddenly sort of like that one brain cell in their head just sort of like twinged, and they were like, "Oh, I've got to do something," So it's just a shame, and I think Demo obviously suffers from that because you've got to cast a bit more.
So I have one little thought, and so you remember like years back they had a thing they called the hybrid tax, where if it was a hybrid player or somebody that could like off heal as well as DPS, then they didn't DPS as strong, like they weren't quite as because they had that utility, right? And then they kind of got rid of that. I remember I think it was during Ghostcrawler's days that they had that. And I'm kind of wondering if they should have almost like a simplicity tax, where if you have a very complex rotation, if you have all this stuff you have to build upon and hardcast in order to get that really big thing, I feel that should be more impactful than just pushing the buttons that light up and the class that kind of plays itself and stuff is yeah, I mean, like, I know that there's more to it. There's there's a bunch of stuff to playing warrior. There's stuff playing ret, but in a way, like, I've played both of them, and they kind of just play themselves, right? Like, you just push the buttons as they're available, and things are just kind of dying on their own. That's how it feels, at least.
Well, if you think about glacial spike, that was an ability where you had a long cast time, and the payload would be this huge amount of damage that would come out that you could still interrupt and kick and stop, and was quite dangerous. Obviously, if you kick them on frost, that's quite a dangerous thing. You can suddenly turn that around, especially if you've got a 6-second lockout. That's kind of payoff, and I think that's quite a good design in terms of that sort of, okay, yeah, it's a longer cast, but it should give you a good payload for it. So I agree.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I think right now, especially with Solo Shuffle being such a popular bracket, you can really kind of feel like I've yet to play Solo Shuffle from a melee experience, but from everything I've been told from other people, it's like ridiculously relaxed compared to playing Solo Shuffle as like a ranged or as a healer. Just because I think you have a bit more autonomy, at least over the game, and you don't feel like you're getting bullied nearly as much. I mean, if certainly like there's some lobbies where it just kind of sucks to be melee, but I think for the most part, your life is pretty easy compared to, I don't know, playing something like an arcane mage or whatever. Even playing like a Demo Warlock, which I know some people consider to be one of the easier casters, but at the same time, it's like it's still pretty brutal in Solo Shuffle. You still have to do a lot of really good things, or else you're just going to get overwhelmed by the mobility creep and all the melee in the bracket.
Yeah, exactly.
Indeed.
But I feel like we've veered off the Demo Warlock into just as casters and healers, just dread
PvP in general.
Yeah.
Well, why don't we get into talents here? Let's talk talents. Big. I know you talents. You seem to know a bunch more about talents than I do. Do you wanna lead into this one?
Yeah, let me. I just had a talent calculator open. I think what we should do is talk about maybe the choices that are made throughout the tree. I know for the most part the Warlock tree is fairly set in stone. We talked about Amplified Curse and the that how strong that is in Arena, and I know if you select the talent below it, you can almost have 100% uptime on your Amplified Curse, assuming there's no curse spell. One of the things I wanted to ask you about is there's two talents that interact with Dark Pact. So Dark Pact is one of your main defensives. You either can have a shorter cooldown on Dark Pact by 15 seconds, or you can reduce the penalty. So the talents are Ichor of Devils, which is the reduction of the penalty, or Frequent Donor, which is the cooldown reduction on Dark Pact. Which one are you currently playing, or which one do you prefer to play in Arena these days?
I've been trying them both. I still don't have one I like more than the other one. So I'm still undecided on that one. You look at your health pool now, and like that 20% health thing from Dark Pack is a lot of health that you're losing from. I'm still unsure on that one.
And then I know most people, I think, select Coil as kind of the default one, but do you ever play a Howl of Terror?
I don't, just because I hate changing buttons around, but I know a lot of like Sam was running Howl into a few teams. I think people run it into, like, if you see a Fistweaver or a Hunter, like it's really good for howling all the pets off you and stuff.
And then I know, working our way down the tree a bit, Inquisitor's Gaze got a huge buff, I believe, in 1007, or maybe it was prior to that. And that's a lot of your damage. At least I know for Destro, it's a lot of damage. Is that such a big source of damage for Demo as well?
It's very random. Some games I have it as my top damage, and other games it doesn't even proc at all. Like, you'll have a 2-minute game and it didn't even do anything. Like, it's very random. I kind of wish it was like a on use, kind of like every minute cooldown or something. It did something cool. It's kind of boring right now. It's just extra padded damage here and there.
And of course, you want to go on the right side of the tree, the Warlock tree, to get Soul Burn. What's the logic behind that talent?
Soul Burn instant cast gateway is the best thing ever. The other one, Health Funnel. So you Soul Burn Health Funnel. You give your pet that 30% shield damage reduction, which is massive for keeping your pet alive, and it gives you a nice little burst of healing when you do heal the pet. You Soul Burn Healthstone for extra healing, and then if you Soul Burn your port, when you port back, you're immune to snares and roots for 6 seconds. It's pretty powerful, and you get a nice 50% movement speed buff. So it's great. Like, if you port back and the warrior charges you instantly, you're immune to that. Whatever that, I can't remember what their root stun is called. The roots, charge root.
Warbreaker.
Yeah, or is it Demolisher? I can't even remember now. But you're immune to that. Sometimes you'll have a warrior that'll charge you twice in a row while you got that port buff up, and you just keep running from them. And they have no idea what's going on. It's their warrior brain. Unga bunga.
You guys. I want to apologize to all the warriors that are listening to this right now.
We've insulted a lot of them, yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, Garazar, when you're talking about the easy tax or whatever, I was just thinking of Fury Warriors. Like, like they should be punished for their 2-button rotation.
It's 3 now. Come on.
3, yes. How could I forget that? That's a 33% increase, whatever it is, 50% increase in the rotation. I know Demo is it's the only Warlock spec that consistently can benefit from Soul Link, right? I think, there's never going to be a situation where you sack your pet. And the other two Warlock specs don't have that luxury. Do you think, I know people consider Demo tanky. Do you think a lot of it has to do with Soul Link?
Yeah, it's 10% extra damage reduction the entire game. And then you just have your pet is, so if you get shaped or stunned or whatever, you can still control your pet to axe toss and stop that go, which is massive. Where Affliction and Destro, they always sack their pets. Like, they don't have that. I don't think they can use their ability when it's sacked, right?
Yeah, when they're CC, no.
Yeah, they can't.
I don't think so. No.
I don't play the other specs very often, so I wouldn't know.
And moving on to the Demo tree, one of the earlier decisions you have to make is Vile Fiend or Soul Strike. And I know Vile Fiend is, I think, what most people take these days. Is there a particular reason for that?
It's been buffed twice for PvE by 30%, and then it gives your Tyrant an extra 3 stacks of the Tyranny at the bottom. And it's another benefit. It's on the fire school, so if you get kicked on it, you don't get locked out of anything. So you want to get kicked on Vile Fiend, and then you can just fear or do whatever. Never kick a Vile Fiend.
And then never kick. Yeah. To the right of it is Demonic Strength, which I believe got nerfed recently, or got a PvP modifier. I don't remember, but that's always picked over bats, right? The Bile Scourge bombers.
Yeah, I haven't used bomber since BFA. Like they cost 2 shards. They're you can't move them at all, and they're not very good for. I don't even think they use them in PvE at all.
And that's one of the themes, by the way. I don't know if we discussed this so far. Is not only are you GCD capped, but you're also kind of soul shard capped in a way, right? Like you don't want anything that gives you additional soul shard costs. Is that correct?
It's not too bad this expansion. Like we get a lot of the demon bolt procs. If you're playing Doom, I think everybody plays Doom still. You're always building shards. We play Power Siphon this patch because of our tier set. So that's 4 shards, pretty fast. So your shards aren't too bad this expansion so far.
And then working our way down the tree, of course, we want Tyrant. Just a question: would you prefer not to have Tyrant? Like, would you prefer some other ability based on our conversation earlier?
Like Metamorphosis, maybe. If that kills consumption from Legion, I know a lot of Warlocks missed that one.
Oh, that was
Do you still have Implosion? I think you do, right? Or am I crazy?
Yeah, it's on the left side of the tree, very left. So Implosion was cool in was it Season 3 Shadowlands? Because your tier set gave you that extra imp, the special imp or whatever it was, and when you imploded that imp, it did the full value of its implosion damage, where the little imps, you only get a little bit. So if you had 3 or 4 of them out, it was an awesome way to execute people. If they got low, you blow 3 of them up, and it did a lot of damage. But now we never played at all because you don't have those imps anymore.
And I know Nether Portal was really popular at the beginning of the expansion. Is there a particular reason why it's not played as often these days?
The very first month, I think Pit Lord, you couldn't even target it. You couldn't CC it or target it, and it just did crazy damage. So everybody was playing it for that. You just kill somebody in the opener, and then people finally learned what it was and started CCing it more. And I think people started pulling away from that once you play against a shaman that just root totems it or something like that, and that whole 3-minute go is gone. I know people were still playing it up till the Ret Paladin patch. Then we got on the right side of the tree that Mutable Hatred. That was a new talent they added in. I think that's a decent single target damage talent, but it was just recently nerfed too. But I think it's still decent. That was nerfed this hotfix, right? Yeah, this Tuesday, today.
And so, could you still play Nether Portal in theory? It just is not going to be as good.
I guess so. I don't play it at all myself because I don't like 3-minute cooldowns. They're just too long for the arena. I just don't find them exciting. Like if somebody roots your Pit Lord, you're just useless for 3 minutes, kind of thing.
Is that because of the current meta where everything's? I mean, the games are pretty fast, right? Like unlike previous iterations where games would go easily past 6 minutes, you'd probably get 2 cycles of that. But with this one being so fast, it does sound like a very long cooldown for a fast meta.
I don't know what happened, what made everybody stop playing, because I know even like Sam was playing when they were practicing with Mez and Sidu. They were playing it a bit at the start before the Ret Paladin changes. And I haven't seen anybody play it since.
I've queued into a couple of people on EU that have done it, but it's had very little impact.
Everybody's just they got their weak auras all for it now, and everybody's a lot smarter about it.
Yeah. So just a little tangent sideline. What do you guys think about weak auras and how it impacts the meta? And just kind of thinking like they're talking about doing things that might break how weak aura interacts with the game. and mostly about not letting weak auras basically play the dungeon and completely negate raid effects. But I'm wondering how that's going to affect PvP. Do you guys think that weak auras should be able to alert players to the big cooldowns rather than have them, have awareness to the UI in that? Or do you think that it's a requirement because the UI really is pretty cluttered and hard to track everything until something blares right in your face that, hey, watch out for this?
I think they have added quite a lot of nameplates with a lot of classes and specs. Like, it's not just Demo, it's BM Hunter, Unholy DK, sometimes even mages. Like, it's with the mirrors, like, it just feels like there's a lot of stuff going on, and there's so many flashy animations, which is great, because obviously we love a good animation on a spell. Like, the updates that they did with the casting animations for a lot of the spells, I loved. But I think there's just so much now that you kind of almost have to have a weak aura, because you could just so easily miss everything that's going on just from the sheer volumes of stuff that's just moving around your screen into specific comps. And I think that's important. Also, there's a lot of stuff baked into specs now. Like, for example, like in Shadowlands, you'd had a lot, like, for example, like a Chi proc, for example, on Windwalkers. Like, to be honest with you probably wouldn't know that. And I'm sure everyone now just has like sort of PTSD to the sort of weak aura sound that used to go off for it.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the major issue, because you wouldn't know, and then suddenly, oh, I've just lost like all of my health. I have no idea why, and it's just because they proc. So, I think that's a key thing, that there are some things that are just a bit ridiculous and that need to be tracked, and it's just the nature of the game and how it evolves. I don't think it's a bad thing personally. I don't think it's a bad thing. Obviously, it means that everyone's on kind of like a level playing field. It's not just the people that are very aware of what's going on that's kind of dominating. Like, people are able to actually match up, and that kind of breeds competition, which is awesome. But I think it would be I think at this point, if they wanted to do something about it, they just need to simplify things a bit.
Mm-hmm.
I almost not enough visuals. Like, you can't tell when some things happen. Like, trying to think a couple, like when the rogues pop some of their cooldowns, you can't see it half the time. Like Vendetta or something like that, I would never know what happened. So I had a big air horn that would go off, because you have to use something or you die. Like Deathmark too, or if like a Druid Ironbarks you, or even Earthenwall Totem, you still can't see it. Like, you can barely see that thing. It's not a big weak aura that says I'm in it or not.
Exactly. Well, I mean, we could talk about this forever, but I feel like we should come back and talk about PvP talents for Demo. So I'm intrigued more about this than anything else. Leeka, what are your sort of go-to PvP talents?
Demo's used the same PvP talent since BFA. Well, we got Obelisk in Shadowlands, I believe, and then nothing's really changed. But now we actually drop our spell lock, because it's been nerfed a lot. Because a minute cooldown, so we'll drop that for precog a lot into like the melee teams.
Mm-hmm.
So you like with a Fistweaver, you just gotta fake something to get any casts off. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But with the next patch coming up, like a lot of our we lose spell lock, which kind of sucks altogether. What else was there? Master Summoner was completely changed. So Master Summoner makes our Dreadstalkers instant cast, and that's the main core of our rotation. Well, they're changing that, so it's 20% cast reduction on Dreadstalkers, Vile Fiend, and Tyrant. I played a little bit with it on the PTR, and I absolutely hate it, because it's such a important part of your rotation. Now you got to cast it. It's a 1.3 second cast, but it's still, like, with the amount of interrupts and things going on, it's so hard to get off.
Yeah.
And I know they're doing that with like the Shadow Priest rework. They're trying to make him cast more. I just think they're just gonna fall over if you got 2 melee on you.
Yeah, see, this is where the wires are crossed, I think. And we touched about this earlier. So they've the mobility creep and the micro CC and interrupts they've given to melee. And then they want casters to cast more. Like, obviously I get it's in the name, but they want casters to cast more. So we have more opportunities in order to get any damage out, we need to be casting and we need to be faked. And it's just like, and in the time period that we're faking, we're just dying. So if you're gonna do that, if you're gonna make melee, if you're gonna rework Ret Paladins into the monstrosity that they've become and are currently, and I don't think that's gonna really change with what they're gonna be able to do, then why don't we flip it the other way? Why don't we make casters do less casting and have more instant cast abilities so that they're able to do it and then just make their big damage, like for example, Tyrant, a little bit longer. Let's say it's just an example. Like, they still have to sort of, cast Vile Fiend, still have to cast Tyrant, but it's just like they're just longer so that, those bigger cooldowns are more impactful and you have to kind of fake that one. But the rest should just be instant cast so that you can kind of get your damage out and get it rolling, because it's just like you can't increase melee mobility without compensating something for casters, at least in my opinion.
And also, all the healers this expansion have a spell interrupt now. Even Discipline or Priests are getting one in the next patch. Like getting that PvP talent where they can. I think that there's the Hot Steel kicks now. Like it does a short interrupt and it steals the spell, so you'll have another class that can kick you.
Yeah, it's like it obviously, like, it's terrible to be the caster right now. Like that's pretty much what it's gonna. I think that's what it's gonna be on 10.1. All the casts are gonna be like, this absolutely sucks.
But I'm
And
also worried if it goes the other way, if you get too much instant cast. Like I
yeah,
hated fighting Ellie Shamans last patch or last like the start of the season because they had all that instant cast lava burst, and they would do that primal wave or whatever it is, and then they would just
yeah,
lava everything, and I didn't like that because you couldn't really see it coming or stop it.
yeah,
Like when I
exactly.
cast a Tyrant, it's coming. You can stop it or run, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Which is why, like, it's nice when Lava Burst does damage, but it shouldn't be like crazy damage all the time. And it'd be nice, like, you could, let's say Stormkeeper is a nice sort of big cooldown, and kind of bring that back and sort of, okay, yeah, so he casts that, okay, they want to do damage now. At least then you can kind of recognize that, and that's a bit more fair. But I don't know. It's basically like Ellie was basically just like a ranged melee at that point with how much damage it was coming out with, just because of how the design is, and admittedly that it is an incredibly fun thing, because that's what I recognized, how much fun I was having, because I was able to just cast and do the damage without kind of feeling like, okay, I have to fake 9 million times, especially, something like Demo where you've got like 2 spell schools. So, if you get locked out on Shadow, you can't do anything, can you?
It's even worse
So,
for Shadow Priests or like Affliction Warlocks, where they
yeah,
only
of
have
course.
one school.
The only one, yeah. So they're dead in the water if you get kicked. Like a rogue kicks you, or anyone, or like a mage, and you're locked out for 5-6 seconds, and that's just grim.
So I'm curious, what's the haste like on the PTR for 10.1?
I don't remember looking. So the tier gear is kind of, the stats are wonky on it, and I'm hoping it changes because we're wearing PvE tier again next season, and I noticed I was kind of going through the versatility on it again, and I think it's the leather sets have like 1100 versatility where everybody else has 100. And then you got all like it's all for PvE, so you got all the wrong stats on all your pieces. Like you got all those crit mastery. I don't like it.
It's just
I miss the PvP sets.
It could just be so simple. They could literally just make it so that when you upgrade a PvP tier set into a PvP item into a tier set, it retains its original stats, and that, or changes to stats that you require, which is like versatility and something else. Like, it doesn't even matter if it's like mastery or crit. I'll take it just as long as you put some Versa on there, so that there's that it's okay, this is designed for PvP. It's just so silly. Like, they could easily do it. It's not. I don't think it's a hard thing for them to do at all.
I think when it comes to gear, it's actually a bit harder than, especially when you're doing this transformation of gear and whatnot. The only reason I was asking that was because I was wondering what the haste pool was. That if this change that they're making to Master Summoner is not based on the idea that if not season 2, definitely season 3, that the haste pools are going to be high enough that the cast time is going to be either 1 second or below, where you're just going to be ripping these things off so fast.
I know when I was playing on the TR, like messing around with gear sets for this season, on a druid I was able to get 40% haste, which is kind of like it was like with a kind of janky gear set, but I think reasonable reasonably, I could probably get up to like 30 without sacrificing too much,
Mm-hmm.
which seems like a lot for season one. I know, it's way back in the day, like Cataclysm, for instance, like haste values in the initial seasons were like so abysmally low.
Yeah.
And then like throughout the seasons, it just like crept up. But it feels like right now already, like stats are already pretty high. I think like most people are at 30% versatility by default. I think most people who want haste can get up to like 20 to 30% haste with no problem. And like think about how fast, like for instance, I've been playing mage, I have all this haste. Haste is my best stat. And on top of that, I have icy veins, I have procs of bloodlust, I have procs of icy veins, I have precog. There's so much to increase haste too, that yeah, like you can do some pretty nutty things if the stars align. Plus, like the CC, the embellished legs where you get a haste proc when you come out of CC. Like there's just so much that just feeds you this stat. Um, that yeah, I mean, it could become problematic for some specific instances, like kicking a poly or something, or kicking the Boomkin Cyclone, which is already really fast. It's going to probably be, next to impossible if you have enough haste next season.
Yeah. And it's kind of what I was thinking is like if it's like 30-35% already, if you're pushing over 40% come season 2 or even into season 3, like what's the cast time going to be like for your Call Dreadstalkers, right? So, but I can understand that that does feel like you're being robbed if you're going from having an instant cast even on a proc to having to long cast. And again, in this meta right now with the yeah, it's not fun trying to
Well, there is a
trying to juke
PvE
that.
talent on our
Hmm?
talent tree that makes them an instant cast, but it's like 20% chance on your Shadow Bolt or Demon Bolt to make an instant cast. But we don't Shadow Bolts at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's just like RNG chance on your Demon Bolts, but it's also a magic buff, so they could get purged off too. And it costs 2 talent points, which we really can't afford right now. I really don't want to have to go down that route, so I'll probably just end up casting it, but not gonna be fun.
Yeah.
It's just the thing is that it just goes to show that, like, this is what I've been saying, that when you have a class that has like especially when you're playing range, that is instant cast, you have way more fun, because there's nothing worse than sitting there trying to have to fake 3 kicks because everyone can kick you now, and all these micro CCs just to do some actual damage on your class. It's impossible, and it's just so unfun to play. Like I personally, I just think there needs to be a healthy balance of instant cast stuff that has meaningful damage, and and the big damage cooldowns. It just doesn't make it. Just I mean, that's
Yeah,
why.
I think right now, like Frost Mage is kind of in a sweet spot there because you have a lot of instant cast damage and you have fairly decent Frostbolt damage, like especially since your Frostbolts hit harder during Icy Veins if you cast them consecutively. I think like you get into some weird territories with something like Destro Warlock, where they have so much instant cast damage that like Chaos Bolt, you don't care about your Chaos Bolt, from my understanding. It's like it's cool, it's like it threatening to some degree, especially if you're playing Fellfisher. But like, man, Destro Warlocks can just do 100% of your HP without casting a single thing. And they have 3 separate instant cast abilities with Shadowburn, Conflag, and then the portal thing. I don't remember what it's called, but that's just so much. And I feel like that is kind of bad design ultimately. If you have so much of your damage just coming from instant cast, you like might as well be a demon hunter or something. It's honestly, if you like watch Destro Warlocks play, like of course they have that caster. They're by definition they are a caster, but they rarely actually need to cast. And if you do hit them, you proc their instant cast incinerates, which there's enough damage modifiers where those can hit pretty hard. So I think there's like somewhere in there a healthy balance. And I don't know what represents it the best right now, but probably something like Frost Mage where you can kind of do both pretty consistently.
Yeah, I think Frost Mage, you're not reliant on a debuff to kind of do your damage. Like, so for Destro, you need that Immolate on for your Conflag to do anything, or to do to do more damage. Like to kind of get the numbers that you want. And then obviously you've got to cast Chaos Spot as well. Like I think there's a lot in there, but it's just they've got so much more baked into their regular abilities. Like it's like if Ellie, like if lightning bolt, you just cast lightning bolt and it just hit you like a truck, as well as the lava burst. That's the kind of thing. It's sort of like every single spell you press has some sort of meaning to it, which is awesome and great, like for when you're playing it. But there needs to be a balance of sort of like, okay, you've got filler spells, and either classes become more builder spenders, rather than just sort of like just pure damage output.
Yeah.
It's a weird one.
I mean, just out of curiosity, Jake, how many times have you hard casted a lightning bolt? This expansion.
Recently, that's a very good question, and the answer is 0.
Yeah,
It's like a wet noodle. So why would I?
yeah.
Like, I've got way more opportunities with Lava Burst. But like you would in BFA, like obviously that was before they reworked Lava Burst. But that was your lightning bolt damage was your main damaging ability, and Lava Burst was the filler, and that was only there to get like the Master of Elements sort of the buff for you. But like that's what I'm saying. Like it's sort of Destro it's like all of it does. There's so much damage, and I don't know whether that's good class design or not, because it's certainly more fun to play from just the pure enjoyment aspect of PvP, because of the fact that okay, you got to get the immolate on for it to be scary, and that's the kind of one that they want to kick. And obviously you've got 3 spell schools you can use, but it's sort of that for me feels way more fun than being forced to like for example cast Dreadstalkers. Like it just doesn't make sense. That's like in order to get your Tyrant out, you're going to have to do Dreadstalkers, Valfiend, and then Tyrant. And in that time period, you've probably been Storm Bolted, kicked, feared.
Mm-hmm. And if you do get it off, your pets get CC'd and
exactly.
Wicca Ashes, they reduce the cooldown on that 30 seconds, and it stuns all demons for 5 seconds.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
so
working as intended.
Yep.
Sorry, I gotta pull us back here, Chris, just to make sure. So, what are the PvP talents what are the PvP talents you pick again?
Yes, the tangent is so bad, just so interesting. Talk about it.
But usually you play Obelisk, Master Summoner for your instant cast dogs, and then you play either the Spell Lock, which is called Fell Hunter, or you play Precog if it's a melee team that you think is going to sit on you.
Okay.
Especially if you're playing like with a Ret Paladin, you're the only caster, you definitely want Precog most of the time.
Okay. You avoid Netherward now?
Yeah, I haven't taken that in forever.
Okay.
You used to take it a little bit in Shadowlands when there was more Destro locks and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Always felt good to reflect.
Coming in this next patch, though, we got like the Master Summoner was changed. We call Fellord has got a nice big buff on it, and it's free. So that'll be interesting, but it still doesn't buff the Tyrant. I don't know if that's a bug, because it's supposed to be all your demons buff your Tyrant, and it used to buff your Tyrant in Shadowlands. I don't know what they're doing with that. Where's the other one? There's that new one. There's one that gives like a Mortal Strike. It might be better for the other Warlock specs. Or is it Soul Rip? Fracture the soul of 3 target players within 20 yards into the shadows, reducing their damage done by 25% and reducing healing by 25% for 8 seconds. So it's a Mortal Strike and reduce their damage. It shoots off like a shard from their body, and it shoots like 20 yards away. So they can either go pick it up to remove the debuff, or just wait 8 seconds. So it might be really good into like melee cleaves, like sitting on you.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
You know what?
I think that one's a little overpowered.
Yeah, no, it's insane to me.
No, that sounds good.
They've also added a Impish Instinct, and it reduces your demonic circle by 2 seconds every time you get hit. Oh, 5-second internal cooldown, so it'll reduce it by almost half. So if melee are training you get a 18-second long ports, which is really good too.
That'd be really good.
Should be interesting. Bonds of Fel was buffed by quite a bit. Should do more damage. I don't know if we'll ever play that one.
Okay.
I'm excited to play Call Fellord again. That was my favorite ability in Legion. Like, it was one of the coolest Demo Warlock abilities. But it's again where everybody's got so much mobility now.
They just run out.
They just because back in Legion we also had Infernal Stun. We had Infernal as our main demon then, so you would Call Fellord, Infernal Stun, which is off DR, and then you would do your Axe Toss into it, so you can really lock them into it now. Where nowadays you can't.
Yeah,
it's a shame, isn't it? Like I just think Also, they just need. I don't get this Mortal Strike thing for every. Like they might as well just give it to every class now. There's just no point.
I was gonna ask, from memory, Demo was not that popular in Shadowlands until they gave it Mortal Strike, right? Like that's when it truly exploded. Because, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's just how I remember it. Like I don't remember what people were playing before Demo, but it felt like that single change really made Demo like the premier Warlock spec in Shadowlands.
I thought it was the Demon Bolt change where they made the stacks that you got from the Necrolord ability unpurgeable, and because of that and the way that it all interacted, you could like just one shot people.
Yeah, but I think that was nerfed relatively quick. Like that only lasted like a part of a season. The big demon bolt damage. But I think
that was when we got 2 legendaries. Is when it became broken.
Oh, that was it. Yeah,
the Bale Spiders ruined it, and then they nerfed it wrong and completely ruined the entire build.
Yeah,
and then that's when people. It was that when people were playing Tyrant. I don't remember what the change was. Was Tyrant in the game then? I don't even remember.
Yeah, Tyrant BFA, but that one only worked off of imp, so it was pretty easy to, it was pretty easy to stop that one. Season 2 is when Decimating Bolt, they removed the magic dispellable part of it. But even like when I did my glide push, I think I saw like 3 demo locks the entire push. Like they were just so rare, and I think it was like season 3 we got double legendary that broke Decimating Bolt for that first, what was it, like 3 weeks and last. That's where we started seeing a lot more, and I think they added the Mortal Strike somewhere around there, Mortal Strike buff, and I think that's what really made more people play it.
Kind of put over the edge.
Oh yeah, so I mean, it looks like it went from 10% to 20% in
25, I think.
25. Oh yeah, because they added a PvP modifier. Man, the game is confusing. What the heck? It's hard to remember all this stuff.
I wish they would put PvP tooltips in the game. It's so hard to tell. Especially there's so many things nowadays where you don't know what does what in PvP and PvE, and it's just so confusing. And then the target dummy doesn't update properly. So like Frostbolt, for example, is supposed to do 200% more damage to players, but it doesn't work on the target dummy.
It's because the target dummy's not a player.
Well, it's supposed to be. It changes your gear stats, which is weird.
Talking about changing things up, the tier sets. We know that they put these in usually to change how you play your game, how you play the class a little bit, make it a little bit interesting. I know the season's almost over, but 2-piece versus 4-piece. Which one are you? So the 2-piece obviously got the Demon Bolt and the Fellstorm damage increased by 20%. 4-piece Demon Bolt has a chance to make your next Hand of Gul'dan instant and deal 150% more damage. I'm thinking 4-piece. Like you want to get all that, right?
Yeah, that's just one of those quality of life things. Like Hand of Gul'dan is the number one thing you get kicked on all the time. Just having that instant cast, and that's why we started playing Power Siphon, because it gives us 2 more Demon Bolts to proc that Hand of Gul'dan. And if you get a proc when you're doing your Tyrant setup, you can get a really big Tyrant from it.
Okay, it makes sense. And obviously that's going away though. I'm assuming that you don't want to be, or that these tier sets you're not going to want in season 2. So what's the tier set in 10.1?
So your 2-piece is kind of meaningless. I guess when you cast Demon Bolt or use a Demon Court, Demonic Court says it'll reduce your Grimoire Felguard by 1 second, which is really good because your Tyrant is a 1.5 minute cooldown, where your second Felguard is a 2 minute cooldown. So that second Tyrant go, it doesn't sync up with that Felguard. So then they're desynced, and you lose that. You lose the buff from the Tyrant, and then you lose the buff to the Felguard to extend it by that 15 seconds. So having that, maybe you reduce it by 15 seconds, then you might want to hold your Tyrant for those for 15 seconds to have them sync up again. And then the 4-piece, it increases. Let's see, deals 40% additional damage and empowers your demons. So pretty much it's the melee Tyrant. So you're definitely going to want to save it for your Tyrant, because you're going to have double stacking there. And I'm sure that'll get nerfed in PvP. That sounds very powerful. I think the Tyrant does 15% to your demons, and then this will do another 20%. So that's having 3 Dreadstalkers and a ton of demons eating you the whole time behind a pillar. People are not going to be happy.
Yeah, that definitely sounds like a complaint thing to come, but it's just stacking modifiers again. in my opinion. Like, it's just that's always seems to be the problem with Blizzard.
Yeah, like I really like the 4-piece from this season because it it's not so much about your damage, but it increases your just quality of life of playing the spec. Where I see the next season tier doesn't do that; it just increases your damage to be stupid.
Yeah. I think that's what they need to. I personally think, as we said, like they need to avoid doing these sort of things. They need to add tier pieces that improve quality of life rather than just giving like a flat damage increase. It's not going to fix the problems,
That's what I always looked about like the PvP sets in the past. Like there were always minor little things, but it was like increase your wind shear range by 2 yards or something like that. Reduce fear cast time by 0.2 seconds. It wasn't anything major, but it made your life a little bit better.
Yeah,
in PvP, and you can easily adjust it without affecting the PvEers.
Exactly, and that's something that is useful. But again, like they'll need these two different sets, and I just don't think they've got the manpower really at the minute to kind of even come up with those.
About that because they did it for how many years? They had 2 different sets. What has changed? Like their staff, they have way more staff, way more tools. I'm sure their technologies are way better. They have access to.
Well, your guess is as good as mine because I'm stumped as well.
If I can read between the lines, I think it's that World of Warcraft is a PvE game with a PvP mini game, and they're gearing it that way.
Yeah,
calling it as I see it.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right. Yeah, and I think, as I said to everyone before, like I feel like we need something to change that up, to bring PvP back into that Fallout. But I think sadly, in the pro scene, it's everyone's trying to just survive, and no one's trying. We don't have enough for it to just build. Like it's not like League of Legends, where there are ex players that are actively building that up.
Yeah,
and that's an issue that we've got. But hopefully one day we'll figure it out.
Quick shout out to Morta. You are correct. Yes, we forgot. There is the World PvP tier set,
which doesn't work in Arena.
It doesn't work in Instance PvP, correct? But all right. Okay, let's get off the sad train. Let's move on. Talk about stats. What makes you happy?
Haste, versatility. That's it.
Not mastery or crit?
Nope. Yeah, Demo's got like 9% crit with the tier set. I think it's like 5% baseline. So you very rarely crit, and then with a crit multiplier changing next patch, it's even less ideal. And then your mastery, I believe it just doesn't scale like your haste. I was looking at PvE stats too, and it's like, haste is just the best. Period. Okay. Like your haste increases you get your haste up. It increases how many bolts your tyrant will do too. And I remember in Shadowlands I played a lot with that. If I get a little bit more haste, how much more haste do I need to get one more bolt out of my tyrant?
Okay. Is that the same though? Does it like how close does it scale? Are there any caps you're looking for?
I don't know any of the numbers, but I know like a base tyrant would do like 9 casts with like no haste, or 8 casts even. If you throw down your obelisk and you pump up your haste, like if you get like a PI, for example, you can get 12, 15. I think 15 or 14 is the highest I've seen it. So, getting 5 more demon fire casts from your tyrant is massive when they're hitting 40, 50k.
Wow. Okay.
You always want to kill that obelisk if you see a tyrant. I guess they just kill the tyrant now anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah. why mess with obelisk when you just kill the demon?
Yeah.
Okay, here's a question then. Can any of your teammates like shield the demon or do anything to help survive?
I remember seeing the funniest stuff. The end of Shadowlands, I was watching Sea-Doo, and they would actually use the holy priest, the guardian angel thing. They would use it on the tyrants to get this big demonic commander thing with angel wings on the back, trying to keep it alive. It was pretty funny looking. But yeah, like paladins I think they can bop it. They can blessing sanctuary it to remove warrior fear, because you can't. Tremor totem doesn't work on tyrants, but you can blessing sanctuary it out.
Oh,
and you can manually dispel the blind off of it too.
Okay,
but it's just like there's no, so you don't have unit frames, so you have to get your healer to actually click on it or make a macro for it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's kind of disappointing, but it's kind of cool. At least you're able to interact with it a little bit like that. And just while we're talking about Tyrant, you alluded to it briefly right when we first started talking. There's been a bunch of stuff over on Twitter I've seen you talk about Tyrant Bug. So how does this work, and what are the workarounds?
I've been reporting this since Shadowlands Season 1, first PTR. I've only got a couple tweets about it. I've got
Just a couple.
2 responses from Leeka, but so if your target vanishes or line of sights you when your tyrant gets summoned, it turns into a melee tyrant. So the tyrant has to run inside your target before it'll start casting. So you can kind of like move a little bit, keep moving a little bit every time the tyrant gets to you, and it won't cast till it's 100% inside you, and it just glitches out. There's a workaround for it where if you target yourself and then summon your tyrant, I was playing around with this a little bit. It will follow you. So you want to get back in line of sight your target, and then it will actually start casting on the spots. But it's really, really glitchy. It can glitch into the wall. Like I've had to get stuck in corners in Ashman's Fall. Like it's so bad. I just hate it.
They need to get the Chat GPT working on that tyrant.
The funny thing is the imps and Darkglare share the same eye. So if you summon your Darkglare out of line of sight, it will have to be inside. It'll run or floats, I guess, to your target before it'll start casting. But it's not as a big deal for Affliction because it's not that big of a cooldown, I guess. Like it doesn't do that much damage.
Yeah, it's all right, but it's not the
end of the world. Right?
Yeah.
And it's your Darkglare is instant cast. There should be never a reason where you cast it behind the pillar where the Warlock's got 3 kicks to go through. You might as well just port and summon Tyrant, but now it doesn't work.
Okay. That's unfortunate. I mean, that's a demo. As anybody playing against demo, everybody I think just took note of how to glitch out your tyrant and save themselves some heartache. One last one, Abyss racials. What's your best racial as a warlock or as a demo warlock?
It all depends on the meta. Like everybody's switching to Iron Dwarf, the Dark Iron, when rogues were crazy and feral. I stick with Goblin. I think they're the coolest. Just having that rocket jump is very useful, especially now that the melee have all that extra mobility. Getting a rocket jump away from a warrior, he has to waste a charge, and then you can port. Pretty nice. I noticed a lot of players have started playing Vulpera because Vulpera is actually the best race to fight Demonology. They have I think it's Nose for Trouble. It's called. Every time a new enemy attacks you, that first attack does reduced damage. So if all your imps, all your new pets you summon, that first hit will do reduced damage, and I guess that adds up to a fair amount over a long game. That'd be pretty good into Unholy Death Knights too, if they ever make a comeback.
Right? I heard they're getting buffed.
I'm thinking next patch though, everybody will be Orc again because you got your stun reduction. It's nerfed by 50%, but it's still going to be really good, I think.
Yeah, I've heard the same. I think we've talked about that a few times on the show, talking about what is going to be in next season. Okay.
I just wish they would disable racials and just let us pick what's coolest. Like I have a Worgen Warlock just because it has the best casting animation in the game, but its racials are useless.
Well, you can run in the wild, man.
Yeah. The mount thing's kind of neat. And then what's it? The Nightborn has like that AoE slow on a 3-minute cooldown, which is like the worst racial in the game.
Yeah.
Nightborn.
Actually, that might actually work against Paladin.
Yeah. Play Freedom.
Wow. And they're wasting their on that instead of other things. But all right. I guess. All right. I like to ask this question. With some of the racial changes they're doing, where they're adding more classes to races, honestly, I've lost track of what's what. Is there any racial any races that can't be Warlock that you'd like to?
Panda would be kind of cool. I like their casting animation, and then they have that instant cast. What is it called now? It's like incapacitate, and it'd be kind of nice to get a rogue or something on you. Because I don't think that'll DR with anything. Maybe it DRs with your coil, but nothing major. What else is there? I think that's the only one I would care about. Yeah, the rest of them kind of Orc's still the best, I think.
Still Orc. All right.
Orc, it's like 1% more pet damage. You got your hardness, and then you have that on use Blood Fury, which you can use with your Tyrant. So it's just like it's got all the racials are good for Warlocks. For Demo, anyways.
Okay. I guess Big, since you're always the strategist, I'm going to have you do the next part, please.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about comps, and I know with the 2v2 bracket, we don't really talk about the 2v2 bracket these days because it's kind of messy. But is there some comp you'd like to preferably play in twos more than anything else?
Not really this expansion. I kind of haven't touched twos at all. I used to play it a lot last expansion, but now it's just Fistweaver's ruined it for me. I can't be bothered to play twos anymore. It's a little disappointing. And with
if you had to guess, would your best healer be a Fistweaver if you're playing Demo, or would it be like a Resto Druid?
I don't even know. Maybe even a priest now. I don't even, because Fistweaver, their healing isn't smart, so it heals imps and stuff at random. So I've seen, I think it was Mystical was playing it, would just, or no, maybe it was Markers, and he would freak out all the time because his heal would just heal imps all the time, and the Warlock would die. It was very random.
And then in 3v3, I know there was the Ret Demo is really popular past few weeks. Do you anticipate that's going to be a popular comp now, or what are you looking to play in 3v3?
I want to play Shadow Play. That's my favorite comps. That's just with a Shadow Priest. I'm hoping that makes a comeback. I saw Benruki playing a little bit of Frost Mage Demo, and they were just getting run over by Ret Demo or Ret Warrior. I don't know if that might make a comeback. I think Featherfoot's playing it, and he's having some good luck with it.
What about would you play with an Asarogue? I know Asarogue Demo is popular at the beginning expansion. Is that a consideration?
I'm really bad with rogues because the stun DRs. Like I just have too many stuns, and I always DR their kidney shot. Like I have 3 different stuns, and then I'm Shadow Fury. If I Shadow Fury all of them, I just ruin the whole rogue's go kind of thing.
Gotcha. And then RBG, I've been out of the RBG scene for ages now, but do Demo Warlocks have a place in RBG lineups?
I think they're really good at camping bases. Like if you need somebody to sit a base, because you get that extra pet, so if they sap you, your pet can stop them. I think they're one of the better base sitters. But I think you'd want a Destro or Affliction for like attack and stuff. But I haven't done any RBGs this expansion, so it could be completely different.
And this might be kind of a loaded question, but say I'm playing against a Demo Warlock, what should I be looking out for? Like, what is your main win condition?
Tyrant. Just kill the Tyrant. That's all you need to know.
Kill the Tyrant.
Kill the Tyrant. That's about it.
You can interrupt it, right, and CC it too, right?
Every CC in the game works on it. It can be banished. It can be stunned. It can be glitched. It's a little disappointing.
And then I know we talked about this before, but Demo Warlocks are considered to be quite tanky. I mean, it doesn't always feel that way, but what are some of the sort of the defensive weaknesses of Demo Warlock? If you wanted to take down a Demo Warlock in Arena, how would you go about doing so?
Like just like the triple melee comps are really annoying. Like if you got the healer sitting on you, kicking you and punching you, I guess. That's the main one too. Like it's just get in that Warlock's face. Don't let him cast that Tyrant if you can, and then kill the Tyrant if he does get it off.
Nice. And then we always ask this question. Garrison, why don't you ask the question? I feel like you should ask this the iconic question.
Thank you. Okay. All right. So Chris, you're sitting with Ian House of Costas. He says, all right, Chris, whatever you want, man. Like, we love what you've done with Drustvar.com. What change would you like to make in the game? Don't worry about the cost. Don't worry about the possibilities. We'll make it work. We'll make it happen. But you can only say one thing. What's the one thing you're going to change, man?
Can I ask for more than one thing?
Nope. Okay, next person on.
I think I'd want to make the game more accessible for new players or players that want to get into PvP. I think it's too hard for new players to learn. Like that goes along with like the tooltips being incorrect or too hard to figure out. The resources are hard to find anything on it. I got people tweeting at me every day asking about if alts are counted in the rank 1 cutoffs. There's just not enough information for players, I think. And I guess the biggest one is just how do you get new players into WoW, especially WoW PvP? And I know D Machine was big on this. He was always fighting for it in Shadowlands because Shadowlands was absolutely horrible for trying to get into PvP. And I think they've done a good job with the gearing and stuff like that. It's super easy to gear a new character, but it's just the information is just hard to come by, I guess. Like almost like it'd be kind of cool if we had a comp stomp arena map so new people can test out the arena without being intimidated, kind of thing. Maybe comp stomp an RMP or TSG or something like that, and you can make it harder or something. Kind of neat.
I like it. You so altruistic. So giving is it usually people are like, I want my class to be fixed. I want something special. I want to be like, just make more information, get more people into the game. I love it.
Well, why don't I go to that route? I want Metamorphosis back for Demo.
Sorry, you only have the one. No, I think everybody who knows Demon Warlocks know that they want their meta back. They want to be able to turn into the big demon.
You know what I was thinking earlier? I think it'd be really cool if they made an ability, right, where you kind of had meta back, but instead you kind of like became this sort of like greater demon, like whether you became like a pit lord or something. What happened is you sacrificed every single one of your pets that you had up. So all of your pets get sacrificed and you turn into this big old beastie boy for like, I don't know, like 12 seconds or something that just runs in and melees the crap out of people and just does a lot of damage. That'd be really cool. So like the idea being that you build up the pets and they come and attack you, and then you kind of like do like an instant cast sacrifice sort of thing, become this big old thing and kind of like charge in and just attack people. That'd be really cool.
That'd be like awesome.
Like meta, but
the only thing I don't like about that is like back to like Wrath when we first got meta. Like it was a 3-minute cooldown, so you would just see the Warlock on it and just kind of wait it out. Where later on, like Mop and Wad, you had almost like a rage bar and you could build it up and use it a little bit at a time. Should be worried about like if it was like a 15-second duration, you just get CC'd on it and ruined.
Well, yeah, I mean, I imagine it'd be something like a minute or like a 2-minute cooldown would be the idea, or something like those, like a normal length, like how all of the new changes tends to put it at. Which, as an aside, I think they should make Ascendance a 2-minute cooldown because that'd be cool.
Paladin wings are up 50% of the game now, so if I can be a demon 50% of the game, I'll be okay with that.
Yeah, like it makes sense. Like a Demonology Warlock, you've got your pets out, and then you sacrifice them to absorb their energy and become this sort of like fell creature, sort of like a burning flame of fire or something like that. They kind of like can move and stuff like that, and you go in and melee people, and then you got to get back out again and start casting. That'd be cool.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that. That sounds awesome. Sort of the tyrant. And then they don't have to fix it. Like that's two birds with one stone.
Exactly. So, point in case, Blizzard hired me, and I'll give you these ideas for free. You're welcome.
Those PvP jobs are rare to come by. I've been watching.
Yeah, I know. But the thing is, though, right? I've got no technical skills, so I'd literally just be the guy that comes in. Okay, so here's an idea. I don't know how to implement it, but we can make this work. Okay, bye, and that's it.
Yeah, so, I got no game design. I just got web design. I don't think that counts for what they're looking for.
The PvP, sadly.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they're looking for anymore. Actually, I'm looking for though is I want to know. I'm big. I'm assuming you have a change. I think you'd like to change.
Yeah, I think. Well, because I used to, my answer to the question used to be like making alts, but it's ridiculously easy to make alts these days and have them completely geared up. Geez, I don't know. I mean, I feel like there's got to be some way to inject activity into every single ladder. I know people are talking about incentivizing healers to queue. There's got to be some way to get more people playing PvP. I think ultimately that's one of the things that's frustrating is at the beginning of season, being an expansion, everyone's playing and then it kind of just fizzles out pretty quickly. And so I don't know exactly what I would change, but something that would encourage people to play PvP more who otherwise would not. I think that'd be really important.
Oh, that sounds like a psychology thesis for a doctorate program.
Exactly.
Yeah. Hey man, I just want I don't want quick queue times on my mage. I don't like these DPS queues. I want
20 minutes at the time. I can't do it.
It's brutal.
No, the queue times are pretty bad.
They should do what they did in certain other places and make it where you queue up and you'd have one game, and it's not like a shuffle. You're not stuck in a lobby. Like, let's say you're like a mage and you queue into you're playing with a warrior and you queue into double ret, okay, as a sort of just that's your one. At least that lobby's over, and you're not thinking, right, I now have to face ret warrior 2 times and then ret double ret, and you're not that's enough to sort of make you sort of want to quit the game forever. Once you just did it once, like the queue times would be really quick because there'd be arena games all the time. That's what I think they should do. But it's solo shuffle. It is what it is. It's not going to change. But I just think that would have been a really good idea if they were to cut down queue times. But
I think the thing with the solo shuffle though, and the playing with everybody is the counter to the concern that it's such a comp base that if you end up in a lobby where you end up with like a really bad comp, the chance of succeeding alone is low just because of the comp you have. It comes around because you're playing with everybody, versus if that's just the one comp you have and then you lose. If you lost 20 CR because you're in like a really bad comp setup, I mean, that just feels bad, right?
That's true.
So I think
I agree.
Yeah.
I understand it. I get it. It's just unfortunate because there is literally I can't think of any solution. Maybe because I'm very tired, but I can't think of any solution really for dealing with the DPS queue times.
Yeah, there's no the only solution to queue times is having enough people in all the different roles to queue up.
I think if you win 6 games as a healer, you get like a token that you can use on your DPS, so you get bumped on the queue the next time you play DPS. But you should have to win X amount of games as a healer, and the next time you play DPS, you can bump that queue kind of thing. And that would, I would probably heal a lot more if that was a thing. So I think they do that in like Overwatch. If you heal a game or you play support, your next DPS queue is your priority.
Oh,
yeah. That sounds like a good idea. I think it's probably slightly easier in Overwatch because obviously you're not like stuck on a class. You can change, can't you?
You tell me how I can heal on a Warlock, and I'll do that.
Yeah.
Well, Dragonflight is so easy to make ults now. Dragons are a lot of fun. The preservation invoker is a lot of fun.
True. Yeah, there's multiple opportunities. Maybe that's a really good idea to get incentivize it. So maybe. There we go. There's a solution.
All right. I think the one thing I would like to change is I want some new brawls. I think the brawls we have are a little old. They're dated. Some of them aren't really working well, and I think it's time to switch them up and get some new brawls out there. Maybe keep Comp Stomp. I mean, that's always good for the honor farm, but yeah, I'd like to get some new brawls.
Agreed.
Battlegrounds.
Yeah. Oh, let's work on brawls first, and then we'll get new battlegrounds. I think that's about it. Let's get into the PvP news and roll this out.
All right. Who ordered up an extra large can of whoop ass?
Alrighty. So, PvP news. Obviously, we got the AWC and the MDI Season 1 has finished. If anybody doesn't know, the MDI Grand Finals was won by Echo. Congratulations to them. So that makes that organization the only org that has won MDI, AWC, and Race to World First. So, and that's because in the AWC Grand Finals, it was Echo that won in the EU and Luminosity that won in the NA, respectively. So congrats to them. Oh, I should point out for MDI, that's the 6th time that they've won the MDI. So whoever ends up coming up against them, good luck. But my gosh, whoever takes them down off of that number 1 spot on the MDIs, there's going to be some that's going to cause some ripples in the E sphere. The other one, there was the Armed Forces Dungeon League. So this was a Mythic Plus key push event. No, sorry. It was a great push event, if I remember correctly. If I have that right. Anyway, so it was won by the American Coast Guard. So congratulations to that team for winning first place. Hot fixes, as always, there is a number of hot fixes that come into the game. there was a few that came around, yesterday. So, Unholy Death Knights, they got a slight increase. Unfortunately, one of them was Army of the Dead, which does absolutely nothing for us in PvP. So that's kind of unfortunate. But the rest, it should help out a little bit with where we're seeing with the with Death Knights, at least Unholy in PvP. I'm not sure if there's anything else. Preservation Evokers got a slight buff to their healing, because obviously they need that. BM Hunters got a 3% nerf straight across the board. I think the big one that really comes to mind, though, out of all of this, is the Ret Paladin nerfs, especially with the fact that Avenging Wrath is decreased from 15% to 10% of how much it increases everything you do. A few other nerfs. Divine Protection is only 10% in PvP, was 20. Yeah, I think that's Blessing and Sacrifice also. It was a 30% transfer, now it's only 20% transfer. So the person you're attacking with Sank still takes a bit more damage. I think that's about it. I don't know if there's anything else. I'm gonna throw actually to Big. I'm gonna throw a Big. Is there anything else in the hot fixes that jumped out at you, man?
Well, I mean, I haven't played my druid in a while, but they reduced the mana cost of Cyclone pretty dramatically. I know that's kind of something that druids have been complaining about. Like, for one, it's kind of already hard enough to Cyclone, and then two, it has a pretty steep mana cost, so it doesn't feel good to have press an ability that's kind of inherently risky, and then having a huge mana cost attached to it. Mm-hmm. It looks like also they were addressing, I believe, Disc Priest mana a little bit, which I think is overall a good thing. Yes. I think, especially with shamans being really popular in the meta, shamans tend to have like an infinite mana bar. It seems like an arena, and yeah, I think that's probably an overall good quality of life change. But I think for sure the Ret Paladin nerfs and the Fistweaver nerfs are probably the ones that stole the show this time around, and probably for a good reason. I think it is kind of funny, by the way, that they reduced BM Hunter damage by 3%, because I think they buffed it by 3%. I think they do this all the time, where they like flip flop now on changes. They like buff it and then like, oh, never mind, and they go back. So it's a bit interesting.
I think this is actually a good point. Big, anything else jump at you?
Nope, that was just me.
Oh, sorry. Nope. The other host, Jake.
To be honest with you, the other big man thing. Right, let me think. To be honest with you, I think from what I can tell, and what the feedback I have seen from the chatter as we've been obviously doing the podcast, is that Disc Priests are, so they kind of like shield you for half your sort of health bar now, and they don't run out of mana. And Unholy DKs are looking pretty scary, but I won't know that until tomorrow, which is when it resets for me. So I don't know. Those are the ones that I'm kind of worried about more, just as a caster main. Like, it's just I think when discs were sort of like ridiculously strong and doing so much damage, twos was unbearable, that's for sure. But then also just everything just felt like, you're fighting triple DPS. That's the inherent problem that I have with Fistweaver as well, is that they do like a decent amount of damage, are able to kick you, and then just they heal so much in certain comps. It just felt kind of like you're fighting triple DPS and their healing can't be stopped unless you CC it or you have some sort of immunity, and that's kind of and that kind of makes me sad. So that's kind of what I'm feeling. I think there's going to be another massive meta shift, and I don't know if it's going to be for the better.
Yeah, I mean, it always happens though. Whatever there's buffs and nerfs, that things flux like that. And you're welcome, by the way, for NA being the PTR for the EU. So you're welcome.
Appreciate that.
Leeka, anything jump out at you on the hot fixes, man?
I'm just happy to see Ret Paladins finally nerfed. It's about 2 weeks too late, but hopefully the season's a little better now that we got 3 weeks ago.
Well, hopefully we'll see what happens. It'll be interesting to see what the stats that come out from the community. Hearing in chat already that Ret Paladins are still hitting for 200k. So
cool.
We'll see. A couple other things. Speaking about broken stuff, apparently there is an exploit in the game that was being posted up into the forums where a player can become completely immune in the game, instance PvP or in the world or even in raids. They can just stand. Nothing happens to them, and then they just blow you up. So,
Ret Paladin.
No, actually, it's any player. I think this one was a warrior is being talked about. There was a few posts that were taken down because it actually linked to how the exploit worked. So those got taken down pretty quickly. But as far as I know, the immunity exploit is still there. So yeah. People are getting banned for using this. So if you go looking for it and you do it, expect that you will get banned, rightfully so. Please don't go looking for it, but just be aware that if you run into a person and they're not taking any damage, report their asses, because screw them. The other one, so Feral, there actually was in the hotfixes anyways, but if anybody know, over on the Wrath of the Lich King, they did a tweak on the own talent and how it worked. It gave an unintended buff to feral druids. The whole intent was to try to fix bear weaving, which was kind of clunky anyways. And in doing so, it ended up being really interesting. So yesterday they put in the fix. They didn't PTR test it. They just put it in at first. The druid community came back quite heatedly back to Blizzard, explained the issues. Blizzard then tried to hotfix it again, and then finally they just said screw it, and they reverted the whole thing and put up a wonderful blue post actually trying to explain what they were trying to do, the intent behind it, a bit of an apology, and denoting really just how much they really should have PTR tested it and fielded the fix before they actually just implemented it, which I think is true. It's the right way to do it. And I honestly feel that it was probably one of the best interactions I've seen of late between community and developers in trying to find a solution. So if you want, go check it out. Essentially, though, for about 3 hours, feral druids were nerfed in Wrath, but now they're fixed. So don't worry about it. I think that's about it for the news. I am going to say, so I just realized I forgot about one little piece. So we're not going to do the cooldown moment for tonight, which also works because I know, Leeka, you have a bit of a time wall that we're coming up to. So let's just roll into the shoutouts. And I'm going to ask you, Leeka, first, do you have any shoutouts you'd like to give?
Pretty much to everybody that's ever, come to just even in the game, people randomly thank me for Justfire, and just saying thanks means a lot. And then Patreon supporters on Justfire been really helpful with the server bells. And pretty much just any of the big streamers. They're a lot of the Warlock streamers are very friendly people, like Infernion and Mucho Power. You go in there, you ever got a demo question or a Warlock question, they're super helpful. They're more than happy to help you. I chat with them a lot during the day. Awesome.
Very cool.
Awesome streamers.
There's some really awesome people out there, not gonna lie. Which is interesting considering Warlocks like to steal our souls, but they're nice people.
Most of them anyways.
Most of them. Not that Jairus guy, he's an asshole. All right, Big.
My shout out is to Palomore. I saw on Twitter today he was feeding local animals, and I believe he's Canadian. So a fellow Canadian feeding the local wildlife and taking a break from playing a hunter and solo shuffle. I respect that. So shout out to Palomar for feeding the squirrels and the birds somewhere in Canada.
I think he's trying to tame them IRL. That's all. All right, Jake.
Okay, I'd like to shout out to the creator of Check PvP. No, I'm kidding. No, I want to shout out to the French shaman Never Gonna Link, the man that I met in LFG today, who played threes with myself and my teammate for 4 hours, and I think we ended up beating Blizzo actually today, which was fun. I don't think he was playing. Well, it was Blizzo next. I don't think he was playing with Swapsy, so therefore, obviously, quite clearly lost to us. But no, I shout out to him for just being probably the most constructive French healer I've ever played with. So I'll take that. Big shout out to that, Ben.
That's awesome. Cool. I'm going to do a shout out to Kyle. Kyle, you know who you are. Thanks for the kind message, man. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this little shout out, because thank you. All right. Leeka, where can listeners find you?
Twitter, best place to find me, just /Leeka. I stream once in a while at Leeka TV on Twitch, but Twitter's the best.
All right. To the Twitters. And Big, can you list off to everybody where they can find us?
Oh, absolutely I can. You can contact us directly with a tweet to @technically_PvP or by an email to technicallypvp@gmail.com. You can also join our discussions on the Bonus Roll Productions Discord.
And you can also visit the Bonus Roll website to find the podcast directory with us and many other great shows at www.bonusroll.gg. This directory also has a review system, so head over there and tell everyone what you think of your favorite shows, including our own.
Indeed. And as always, links for everything we talked about is going to be in the show notes. I want to thank everyone for listening, and we'll chat with you next time. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Night.